social intelligence, the art of reading and responding to people ahead of 99%, the man who would rise above the crowd must first rise above himself. There can be no dominion over others without first earning dominion over the forces within. The battlefield of social intelligence is not found in crowded rooms or behind closed doors. It begins in silence, in solitude, in the private war between your impulses and your intentions. For every great master of influence, persuasion, leadership, and connection, there is first a master of discipline. You must become a scholar of your own mind, a strategist of your emotions, a craftsman of your responses. Until then, your judgment is clouded, your perception distorted, and your reactions dictated by the undisciplined forces within you. The one who cannot observe his own thoughts without being swept away by them is a blind man navigating a world that demands clarity. And clarity is what separates the leaders from the lost. The first gate you must walk through is the gate of self, mastery. Your thoughts, when not governed, become your prison. Your emotions, when not directed, become your downfall. Your impulses, when not filtered, become your enemy. The one who lets anger, jealousy, or pride guide his words becomes predictable, vulnerable, and manipulable. But the man who knows what he thinks, feels what he feels, and still chooses to respond rather than react, that man is a force to be reckoned with. You cannot read the room until you have read yourself. You cannot lead others unless you've led your thoughts out of confusion and into command. Social intelligence begins where ego ends, when you no longer need to prove, impress, dominate, or react out of insecurity. You start to see with new eyes. The moment you detach from the desire to be understood, and instead seek to understand, you move into the rare air that 99% will never breathe. And yet, most never pause long enough to listen to their own internal noise. They rush to speak, they rush to defend, they rush to judge. In their haste, they reveal their weakness. In their need to be heard, they forfeit their power to influence. Because true influence does not shout, it listens. It waits, it chooses its moment, and when it speaks, it penetrates. When you walk into a room, your power does not come from what you say. It comes from what you notice. But unless your mind has been trained to quiet its own chaos, it will drown in assumptions, impulses, and projections. You will not see others as they are. You will see them as you fear or desire them to be. And so the first commandment of social intelligence is this: rule your mind or be ruled by it. Developing this inner mastery requires ruthless honesty. You must study your own patterns, question your motives, dismantle your illusions. Do you react defensively when challenged? Do you seek validation in the form of attention? Do you speak to dominate or to connect? Each answer reveals the cracks in your foundation. Each weakness you expose is a doorway to strength, if you have the courage to walk through it. In every interaction, you are either driven by your highest intention or your lowest insecurity. The masses move from fear, the 1% move from vision. The difference is felt instantly. One seeks to be seen, the other already knows who he is. One tries to control others, the other controls himself. One reacts from emotion, the other responds from power. And the difference between reaction and response is the difference between chaos and command. Understand this: self-mastery is not perfection, it is awareness. It is choice. It is the ability to see your internal state and override it if necessary. It is the ability to feel insulted and still stay composed. It is the ability to feel fear and still speak boldly. It is the ability to feel anger and still respond with clarity. Those who possess this level of command become unshakable, and the unshakable become irresistible, because in a world full of noise, chaos, and confusion, calm is magnetic. But once you have begun to conquer yourself, once your perception is no longer colored by insecurity or ego, a new power awakens. You begin to see people, not their masks, not their roles, not their words, but the patterns behind the presentation. And here lies the next pillar of social intelligence. People are always telling you who they are. Most just don't know how to listen. Words are cheap. Patterns are priceless. The socially intelligent don't get seduced by surface charm, flattery, or noise. They watch for what's repeated. They study how someone talks about others, how they respond under pressure, how they treat those they don't need. These are the signals. These are the fingerprints of truth. A man's nature is revealed not in his introductions, but in his tendencies. Most people never change. They only become more of what they already are. So the one who observes can predict, and the one who can predict wins. This is where perception becomes a weapon, because while others are busy listening to what's being said, the socially intelligent are tuned in to what's not being said: tone, timing, micro expressions. Repetition, avoidance, inconsistency, discomfort, alignment between words and action, these are the tells, and like a skilled poker player, the observer collects data, connects dots, and sees patterns before anyone else does. And once you can read someone, you can move with intention. You don't waste energy proving a point to someone who is driven by ego. You don't fight for validation from someone who seeks control. You don't debate with someone who isn't seeking truth. You conserve your fire, you redirect your influence, you speak only when it advances your purpose. The socially intelligent man does not react to energy, he redirects it. He does not meet fire with fire, he absorbs and transforms it. You must understand, everyone is walking around projecting their wounds, insecurities, beliefs, and desires onto others. Most people aren't interacting with you. They are interacting with their perception of you. They are not speaking to your reality. They are speaking to their story. Once you understand this, you no longer take things personally. You observe the script they're reading from, and you decide how much of your time, energy, and soul they deserve. The untrained man takes offense. The intelligent man takes notes. The average man responds emotionally. The exceptional man responds strategically. When someone insults you, they reveal more about their own insecurity than your identity. When someone brags, they reveal more about their emptiness than their success. When someone gossips, they reveal more about their values than the person they are speaking about. This is how you read people, by watching what they do repeatedly, especially when they think no one is watching. Every human being is telling a story, but the story is not in the words, it's in the behavior. The man who is insecure needs to be the loudest. The man who is threatened tries to dominate. The man who is weak uses manipulation. The man who is honest speaks with less noise and more truth. And if you're paying attention, you can see the story long before others are ready to read it. This ability to read people, to see patterns, to decode behavior, to hear what isn't spoken, gives you an unfair advantage in life, business, relationships, and leadership. While others get blindsided, you move with foresight. While others are surprised, you are prepared. While others react, you respond. And in the long game of power, response always beats reaction. Anticipation always beats surprise. Perception always beats assumption. And silence, when well used, always beats noise. In every room, every meeting, every conversation, there is a hidden game being played, a game of power, and the one who holds power is not always the one who speaks the loudest or moves the fastest. Power belongs to the one who responds with intention instead of reacting with impulse. In a world where most people are slaves to their emotions, the one who masters his response becomes the silent king. Most people are triggered. Someone offends them and they explode. Someone disagrees with them and they defend. Someone ignores them and they collapse into insecurity. Reaction is weakness disguised as instinct. But the man who can feel the fire and still remain cool, the man who can absorb disrespect and return calculated calm, that man is untouchable because he is no longer at the mercy of what happens. He is now the architect of what happens next. The world belongs to the emotionally intelligent, the one who can pause before speaking, think before replying, and choose his words with precision is already ahead of 99%, because people don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. And when your responses are thoughtful, intentional, and sharp as a blade, you leave an imprint far deeper than the man who explodes in chaos and apologizes in regret. Power doesn't come from aggression, it comes from control. The one who can hold his composure when others unravel holds the keys to influence, because the calm man makes better decisions. He sees more clearly. He moves with confidence. While others get tangled in arguments and drama, he moves around it like water flowing past the rocks. He picks his battles with surgical precision, knowing that energy is a currency too expensive to waste on fools. You must understand, every interaction is a test. People will test your reactions to see if you are weak, if you are easy to provoke, if you are emotionally undisciplined. And the moment you rise to their bait, you lose control. But when you respond with measured silence or a composed statement, you flip the power dynamic. The one who cannot control his reaction is giving power away. The one who can pause, smile, and choose his response is taking power back. This is not about suppressing emotion, it's about channeling it. Emotion is fuel, but undirected fuel causes wildfires. Controlled fuel drives engines. The wise man uses his emotion as data, not as commands. He listens to what he feels and then chooses how to act, not based on impulse, but based on purpose. And purpose-driven responses change the game. Because in a world trained to react, a man who responds stands out like lightning in a dark sky. Imagine how much stronger your relationships, your leadership, your influence becomes when you stop reacting to every word and start controlling every response. You become stable, you become trustworthy, you become powerful. People begin to listen to you not because you speak loud, but because you speak with intention. Your words carry weight because they are not tossed around, they are aimed. There is no need to control people when you can control yourself, because people follow stability. They are drawn to those who do not crack under pressure. They trust the man who does not retaliate when insulted, the man who does not panic when chaos erupts, the man who does not argue to be right, but speaks to resolve. In every boardroom, in every negotiation, in every conflict, he who remains calm commands the room. And that command doesn't end at the moment. It extends into reputation. People begin to know you as the man who doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, doesn't lose himself over petty words. They begin to adjust around you. They become careful in your presence. They respect your energy because power is not in domination. It is in direction. Direct your emotions, direct your words, direct your focus. That is what makes your presence felt without ever raising your voice. But there is another level. Beyond responding well lies the even rarer skill, anticipation. While others are busy reacting to what already happened, the intelligent mind is 3 moves ahead. He has already studied the patterns, read the signs, and positioned himself for what's next. He is not surprised because he has trained his eyes to see behind the moment. Anticipation is not prediction based on luck. It is foresight based on observation. People are creatures of habit. Environments move in cycles. Behavior repeats, and the man who pays attention sees the loop. When you listen with more than your ears, when you watch with more than your eyes, when you connect the dots that others ignore, you begin to sense what's coming before it arrives. In business, this gives you the ability to innovate before the competition even knows what's missing. In relationships, it allows you to meet needs before they are spoken. In conflict, it allows you to avoid chaos before it ignites. In leadership, it makes you seem prophetic, because while others are reacting, you are already positioned. This is the secret edge, the silent advantage, the invisible power, but anticipation requires discipline. It requires you to slow down, observe longer, and resist the temptation to always be moving. The man who always talks never hears. The man who is always rushing never notices, but the one who can step back, detach, and study the game from above, he begins to understand the movements of the players, the rules of the room, the opportunities behind the noise. The world does not belong to the strong, it belongs to the most aware. Awareness is what allows you to see through the mask, to spot the lie hidden in flattery, to sense the shift in energy before words are spoken. Awareness allows you to read not just what someone says, but what they want, what they fear, what they hope no one sees. And when you know what people want and fear, you know how they move, and when you know how they move, you can move first. Power is not found in chasing, power is found in positioning, and positioning is the reward of anticipation. The man who anticipates does not need to compete. He creates advantage. He creates timing. He creates openings. He creates the outcomes others are scrambling to respond to. Because while they are asking, "What do I do now?" he is executing what he already prepared for. The masses live by reaction. They wait for the world to change and then scramble to adapt. They get hit, then respond. They suffer loss, then ask why. They face conflict, then panic. But the elite, the socially intelligent elite, are prepared before the hit. They move before the wave, they strengthen before the storm. They are not playing the same game as the 99%, because the 99% wait to be pushed. The 1% plan to pull, and that plan comes from understanding patterns. If someone explodes when challenged, that's a pattern. If someone gets quiet when intimidated, that's a pattern. If someone uses humor to avoid vulnerability, that's a pattern. Study them, store them. Prepare your response and next move in advance. So when the moment comes, you are not caught off guard. You are already in motion. This is the essence of social intelligence: to study, to understand, to prepare, and to strike with precision. The most powerful people in any room are not always the ones speaking. They are the ones watching. Watching where people sit, watching who they gravitate toward, watching what they avoid, watching how they speak when they feel powerful, and how they shrink when they feel threatened. Every movement, every silence, every glance is information. And the man who collects information before acting gains an edge that cannot be taken from him. Most people are busy trying to be seen. The intelligent man is busy seeing, and in seeing he moves ahead. Because where others are waiting to respond to events, he is already sculpting the outcome. He is playing chess while others play checkers. He sees what's next, not because he's a genius, but because he pays attention. He notices, he prepares, he moves quietly until the time comes to move boldly, and by the time others see the opportunity, he has already built the bridge to reach it. There is a force more powerful than logic, more influential than facts, and more contagious than ideas. It is emotion behind every decision, behind every belief, behind every action that moves nations or shifts destinies. There is emotion. The greatest persuaders in history, the most magnetic leaders, the most unforgettable communicators did not win with cold intellect. They won with emotional leverage. Emotional leverage is the ability to tap into the invisible wires that control human behavior. It is knowing that people may listen to facts, but are moved by feelings. You do not change minds by arguing harder. You change minds by reaching the heart before the brain ever catches up. To lead someone, you must first understand what leads them from within. That's where true social intelligence takes root, not in manipulation, but in mastery of emotional momentum. When someone feels understood, they lower their guard. When someone feels seen, they open their ears. When someone feels safe, they trust. Most people try to influence by proving their point. The wise man influences by removing resistance. He mirrors, he reflects, he affirms, he doesn't overpower, he aligns, he doesn't force the door open. He becomes the key that fits the lock. Study people's emotions and you will unlock their decisions. Behind confidence you may find the fear of insignificance. Behind anger you may find deep betrayal. Behind arrogance you may find deep insecurity. And when you stop reacting to the surface and start speaking to the root, your words start to carry weight that cannot be explained. That's when you stop persuading and start transforming. Every human being carries wounds. They don't wear them on their sleeves, but they bleed through their words, their tones, their reactions. Some seek validation because they never felt worthy. Some fight for control because they once felt powerless. Some crave applause because they've been unseen their entire lives. If you can spot the wound, you can speak to the soul. If you can soothe the fear, you can redirect the action. This isn't about deception. It's about awareness. It's about choosing the emotional note that resonates instead of playing louder. A single sentence spoken with emotional alignment will always outperform an essay spoken with detachment. Influence is not about talking more, it's about feeling deeper. It's about creating a mirror in your presence so that others feel more connected to themselves in your company. But this skill requires more than empathy. It requires strategy. The emotional currents in any room are like a river. You can swim against them and exhaust yourself, or you can move with them and redirect the flow. The person who enters a tense room and matches that tension will only escalate it. But the one who enters and brings calm disarms the storm. Energy is contagious, emotional states are viral, and the one who can regulate his own becomes the regulator of others. If someone is in fear, give certainty. If someone is in doubt, give clarity. If someone is in shame, give dignity. These are the levers, and once you learn to pull them with intention, you become a force that people cannot explain, but cannot ignore. People follow those who make them feel stronger. People listen to those who make them feel capable. People trust those who make them feel safe. And while others try to win by overpowering, you win by understanding. You don't out-talk people, you out-connect them. You don't need to be the smartest in the room. You need to be the one who understands the emotional weather of that room and responds accordingly. Every sale, every relationship, every agreement is an emotional transaction long before it is a logical one. You must learn to become emotionally multilingual, to read tone, posture, hesitation, and subtle shifts in energy like words on a page. This is the language behind the language. The socially intelligent don't just listen to the words. They listen to the pause before the words. They don't just watch faces. They study micro-reactions, because the truth always leaks. The untrained eye misses it, but the observer knows, and the observer wins. That leads to the final mastery, the invisible form of power that few ever cultivate. The power of quiet dominance, the power of the man who does not seek attention but commands it. The one who does not announce his presence but alters the temperature of the room simply by entering. He does not chase respect, he attracts it through relentless observation and precise adaptation. He does not need to be the loudest, the fastest, or the most aggressive. He wins by watching, calculating, evolving, and moving with strategic silence. In a world addicted to noise, distraction, and ego, silence becomes a weapon. People underestimate the quiet one until he moves, and when he moves, it is already too late to catch up. He adapts like water. He fits the situation without being changed by it. He can sit in chaos without becoming chaotic. He can sit with fools without becoming one. He can listen to lies without reacting, because he's already 10 steps ahead. While others are proving who they are, he's learning who everyone else is. And knowledge is the highest form of leverage. This man does not rush to speak, he waits to strike, because his words are not casual, they are tools. His energy is not for everyone, it is reserved. His presence is not an accident, it is a result of precise internal alignment. He walks with an aura, not because he demands attention, but because his awareness, discipline, and detachment speak louder than noise ever could. The socially intelligent strategist knows how to disappear into the background while learning everything about the foreground. He knows that people reveal more when they think no one is watching. He knows that silence makes others uncomfortable, and in that discomfort they reveal what they try to hide. He knows that the less he says, the more others speak, and the more they speak, the more power he gains. Adaptation is his armor. He changes pace without losing direction. He alters tone without losing truth. He adjusts approach without losing principle. He becomes what the moment requires while staying rooted in who he is. This gives him the ability to operate in any environment, among any group, in any challenge, and still emerge untouched, unshaken, and victorious. He never shows all his cards. He lets others underestimate him, misread him, project onto him. Because while they are busy trying to figure him out, he is already done studying them. This is not just social intelligence. It is social warfare, but the battle is not loud, it is quiet, it is internal. It is won before it is even fought. He does not chase victory. He positions for it. He does not argue to be right. He positions himself so that being right is inevitable. He does not need to win every skirmish. He plays the long game, knowing that the war is won not by force, but by silence sharpened into strategy. While others are fighting for attention, he is building influence. While others are burning energy in noise, he is storing power in stillness. And when he moves with accuracy, because he's been watching, because he's been adapting, because he's been waiting for the exact moment when the environment tilts in his favor. And when that moment comes, he doesn't hesitate. He acts with precision, with confidence, with a force that seems effortless to others, but was earned through relentless discipline behind the scenes. This man does not need applause. He doesn't chase external validation. His satisfaction comes from results, not recognition. His moves are silent, but his results are loud. His influence is invisible, but his outcomes are undeniable. He is not in competition with anyone, because no one else knows the game he's playing. While others are focused on image, he is focused on mastery, and mastery never needs a spotlight. Because true power glows in the dark, he collects information like a surgeon preparing for a precise operation. Every word spoken in his presence is stored. Every emotion expressed is filed. Every reaction he observes becomes another tool in his arsenal, and when it is time to act, he uses everything he has learned with quiet, explosive precision. Not to impress, but to execute. Not to be seen, but to succeed. Because success to him is not applause. It is advancement. He leaves rooms with more power than he entered, not because he demanded it, but because his presence was unforgettable. Not because he spoke the most, but because he spoke last and best. Not because he argued his value, but because his value was undeniable. He does not seek permission. He assumes his place. Because when you observe long enough, adapt smart enough, and strike sharp enough, the world begins to respond to you without you ever needing to raise your voice. Social intelligence is not just a skill. It is a silent superpower. The one who masters observation, controls emotional responses, anticipates outcomes, and influences through presence rather than pressure, rises above 99% of the world. Power does not belong to the loud, but to the aware. Influence is not forced. It is earned through discipline, strategy, and quiet dominance. In a world full of noise, those who listen deeply, think clearly, and respond with precision become impossible to ignore. Master the art of reading and responding to people, and you won't just survive the game of life, you will own the board.